Welcome to the Dystopian Renaissance. We cover spirituality, healing, consciousness, and truth. In this chaotic world we live in, it's important to get out of the matrix, and we'll do just that with biohacking, nutrition, spiritual awakenings, alternative healing, and freedom. This is the Dystopian Renaissance, and this is your host, Johnny Sage.
Welcome to the Dystopian Renaissance. I'm your host, Johnny Sage, and today I am sitting with Siri Darshan and Hari Darshan. They're Reiki masters, crystal healers, Kundalini yoga instructors. They've been traveling around to various metaphysical shows all over the country. And this journey, your journey started in the Midwest, right?
Yes, it sure did. It sure did. It was 2010. We were unhealthy folks, actually, we had type 2 diabetes. We were probably each 100 pounds overweight. And we had decided to make some changes in our lives. And when that happens, we both lost over 100 pounds at that time. And when you shed all of this, so many things become more clear. And realizing that you're not living the life that you really want really starts to show up every day in your life. And we made some changes. We used to travel to Los Angeles every year, sometimes a couple times a year. And we thought, this is really where we want to be. So let's make the changes that we need to get there.
Yeah. And that was where we discovered vision boards and began putting our manifestations and visions and recognizing the power behind manifestation. And I still remember with my wife, I had put on the vision board, we will move to Los Angeles in 6 months. And she was like, oh.
Yeah, that kind of definitive thing just came up. It was like, really? Oh, okay, we're doing it now. All right,
Yeah.
6 months, okay.
And
no kidding.
Oh, no, it was exactly
It
6
was
months.
exactly
It was 6 months nearly to the day.
Yes.
Wow.
And we were working out at a corporate gym, and that is where we met our first Kundalini yoga teacher,
Colin Kim.
Colin Kim, and he married us
A year later. Because it was legal here to do that. So
Yeah.
Oh, so he was also like an ordained minister or
Yes,
something as well?
yes.
for-
yeah, so that was amazing. So
It started our journey to become teachers.
right. So it was literally, we showed up, we had on our vision board, take a yoga class, take a spin class.
Mhm.
And we did both of those things. We showed up on Tuesday and on Saturday, we were at the gym and we did both of those things and met Colin Kim. And so we took that Kundalini class with him and we just fell in love. Like it created such a peace. And I felt such a reverence to just everything that it just was like, wow, did I just come home? And it's, 2,500 miles away from where I thought home was. It's like, no, this is definitely my home.
Yes,
Felt it
it is.
immediately.
Yeah.
So a year later, Steph took the yoga training.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it was
did
actually,
before you did.
oh yes, it
Yes,
was
I
actually right
did.
when it was available to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And at first I was like, Kundalini yoga, oh no, I'm not going to do that.
it's,
And then
I
did,
thought it was so hard, but I was like, you go.
yeah. And then that's it. And as far as catapulting, like starting our spiritual journey.
Yes. So it started with yoga.
Mhm.
Yes. And a vision board for sure. Because like I said, those things were on there and now she's certified spin teacher and so it's just interesting how you put that one thing from your apartment 2,500 miles
It was
away.
way out there.
We gave away everything that was in our condo, to like women's shelters and things like that. And we literally just had the vision board enclosed. Like that was it.
when you did the
when
original move.
when we moved,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And so there it was. Like we're making all of these things happen
And it still
very
sits
quickly.
on my desk today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm always like worried to move because it's the stuff, you know? So I was like, yeah, a lot of people give all their stuff away, and it's crazy because you spent so much time
to collect it.
Yeah.
I know. I understand.
And
we don't want those things to own us though, right? So it's like that.
Yeah. So that's actually awesome. You're able to do that. And so you weren't spiritual before the vision board, right? Like that's
I've always had a love for crystals, and that's a big part of our now everyday everything. In 2015, my mother got sick with cancer, and one of her wishes was for us to put my love of crystals and jewelry together. So that ended up it just happened. It was just amazing. And so now it's like everything that we do, we always know it's a tribute to my mom as well. And because she was very generous and giving, and I feel that my siblings and stuff, we've all really embraced that as well. So.
I love to use this analogy, but I say that I swear in like a linear lifetime, were mobsters throwing turkeys off the back of a truck.
That's funny. And did your mom get to see you like start the business,
not
or
at
she
all.
didn't at all?
No,
Okay.
no.
That's but that's really amazing. You were able to live up to your word or her vision. You know,
Sure.
Yeah.
It was at least you made good on that, so she would be proud of that, and I'm sure I do believe she can see you.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel closer to her now than I did when she was living in Ohio, and we only FaceTime so often or whatever. So anyway, she's with us all the time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And like this crystal business, it's also jewelry, and you don't just buy the crystals, which is part of it, but you also make your own as well.
Yes. We are those people that you can't kick out of your store who will sit on the floor for like 6 hours.
And I'll leave with like 4 crystals because they have to talk to me, and they're like, we're just the conduit to get it to their next keeper. And it's just so beautiful. We bring them into our home, and everything is high vibe, and there's blessings that happen and all types of clearing and with our stones. So people usually feel our vibe when they come near our table at expos, and they'll be like, well, I might be back. And they always come back because they know the difference when they're around other folks that don't necessarily have the same connection with their pieces.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I actually did a healing session with you. It was a crystal session, but also Reiki too.
Yeah. Yes.
And that, it was amazing for sure. It definitely, your stones are high vibe, I would say. You could really feel the energy through them. And I like how you have like the bigger ones too. So that was, I could highly recommend that if anyone's been in search of that type of healing. It's a good place to start.
Yes.
And for Reiki, how'd you get started in that?
Okay, so I have to think of the first Reiki. Well, we were with Dave Beer.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So he was our first instructor for that. We took level 1 and level 2 with him. And then we took
And then we did masters with him too. And that was during pandemic, right?
It had to do with the coaching as well.
Like intuitive coaching and training. We're always like just digging in anywhere we can learn and grow and find information.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because when I first started my healing journey, there were a lot of like people I went to, like they would just be a Reiki master, and I can't imagine doing that myself now, because as you do, I felt it best to incorporate various modalities, and not even just various modalities, but I studied under like different Reiki teachers as well, just so I could see what was working on me and stuff. So I think it's a lot harder to be just one type of healer now, I found.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes we would even say when we are, training, we also spent time at Yoga West. We would train people to be Kundalini yoga teachers, and we would tell everybody how important it is to take different instructors. So I feel that way about healing modalities, because all it's going to do is create more of an experienced, more of a well-rounded, teacher or healer out of you.
Yeah. And I always think it's good to give something a second try. If you hear something's good and you didn't have the best experience, I always recommend going again. Like even people that come to me for healing sessions, they're like, wow, I wasn't going to do this again, but I'm glad I did. And now, so it feels really good to hear that, but I'm glad they did. And I've done that too. Like for some of my sessions that I was getting, I didn't have the best first time. And thankfully I gave it a second shot and I found it was really beneficial. So I noticed it's like good to try it. If it's something you really think it would help you, I recommend going, maybe like wait a little bit till you recover and get the bad taste out of your mouth. But I found it's not good to like just give up on it right away because it depends a lot on the instructor or healer.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's a really good tip. I think often in life, we are so shaped by our experiences. Like, for example, somebody could say, oh, yeah, I visited New York and I didn't like it. And that was an example for us. Well, if you're just visiting the tourist attractions, it's different than visiting what locals might tell you to see.
Mm-hmm.
So it is always good to give second chances.
Yeah. Although New York now.
I know.
Maybe, well, yeah, you give that a second chance, but that still don't like it. Yeah, that's probably just how New York is. And Kundalini yoga. So you said how you got started that. Do you think that was the most transformational thing for you?
I think so. I think it being the first thing that we delved into, because anything she does, I do back, we're always into everything together anyway. So she was, training and reading the book, and we're answering the questions together. And it was amazing how you realize the power that you have, that you own yourself. And then on top of that, what you can actually do when you tap into that power and just make so many things in your life better by recognizing I have more control than I thought I did, like prior to delving into the spirituality. So, right? Like you're not looking at external things and saying, this is why, that's why, like things aren't happening for me. It's like, no, actually I totally own all of that. And, the things that do or do not happen in my life are, what I have brought in.
Well, and I think too, like growing up in the Midwest, or we've had a friend who's like, well, the landlocked states don't have as much exposure, but it is a much different world moving out into LA. And I remember first getting here and we would be told like, well, it's all in who you know. I thought, really? But it oftentimes is all in who you know. And we, had so much growth, I feel, so quickly from Kundalini yoga, just being here and having that be the first type of yoga that we were introduced to. It made a huge difference in both of our lives.
Yeah, it's really different to the other types. I was introduced to the regular Hatha or flow yoga first. And I did get certified. No, I got certified in Yoga Nidra first.
Oh.
Because that's like the easiest one to get certified in. So it doesn't take that long, but it's still a great modality. Because I didn't really consider myself a yogi when I started, I was like, oh, I could do Yoga Nidra. I wanted to, but I thought yogi had to have like a specific body type or, you just had, and LA yoga scene, like at least for Hatha, especially flow, like can be a little, it's on the like shallow side. Before pre-pandemic, at least,
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying every studio is like that, but it's
yes,
it definitely, yeah, it was an acquired taste. But I still loved it in theory, so I kept with it. But Kundalini yoga was a lot different because it dealt with like energy and so many other things. And I talked to that with a different guest, but it's not just the energy. They have like different kriyas and meditations for pretty much anything.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's amazing too, being able to tap in. I always like to work with the heart a lot. And there's even a book that was all on heart-centered, meditations, but it is really cool how it truly, there is a science behind it. where it is these specific movements, these specific times, like create a specific result. And that I feel is really just proven even by us practicing it ourselves to actually see those things happen.
Right.
So I like that that's different. And I think we also both like to break the mold about, we're really big on inclusion. It's not your body type. It's not, we tend to sometimes stick out as sore thumbs. We holding up the center of the yoga room, but we like being different.
Yeah, that's no, and in full disclosure, I bet you were my small group leader during my Kundalini yoga teacher training, and that's Jetha group is just a small group because our class was so big that they had to be broken down into, even our small group wasn't that small. I think it still had around 10 people at one point at least, maybe even a little over. And it was, that was one. I enjoyed having you both as leaders. And how'd you decide to be like, you wanted to like get involved that way?
I think that, well, for me, learning anything, repetition is going to be key, right? So I felt, wow, I can help other people through this first stage, because it's like level 1 of teaching is what we were doing. And so I was able to go through it like 6 or 7 times. So for me, I thought this is the best thing that I could do. And then also, of course, I love just meeting new people that are also, I want to say, questioning, or like in that new, like just getting your feet wet, or like, right at the edge of the diving board, like I like to talk to those people. I it's just interesting to me, and everything is just relatable. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and being part of transformation. And it's so rewarding how you work with so many different individuals and you watch everybody have awakenings and transformations, and the growth is so exponential that you want and you crave to share it with others.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did notice that a lot of people in my group, and probably the training in general, we're kind of at that initial stage of a spiritual awakening. So it's like, because even when I would like share some truth with them, they'd be like, "Oh, really?" Or like, they weren't. And some people, realized it wasn't for them, and but they did have that exposure, and they did like some of the stuff at least. So, but other people have pushed them, and they went fully down the spiritual path.
Right.
So, and I can't believe how it was doing like 6 or 7 times, because they had some really amazing speakers, and it was really top notch that way. That's why it's like when everything shut down, like that was hard in all yogas, not just Kundalini. Did you find it was the same doing it online, or like either when you taught or like when you were the students?
Well, I think in all honesty, we were doing workshops online with Kundalini University with Guru Singh. And I think what we found really was that we made the Kundalini part shorter and just spoke more about like the actual Kriya, the exercise part. We made that a little bit shorter, and we did more mantra. We did more speaking to people's hearts and trying to just, because at the same time, it wasn't just that Kundalini was on a spiral. It was also the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're at home now, and we're inviting people into our home on the computer. They're witnessing us at home, and it felt like a lot of love. It felt like I was able to share so much more love, actually. And I don't know if it was just that I felt that there was such a need for it, or that the people on the screen were hungry for it. I don't know. It just, it was so rewarding. I just have to say, because I think more people were actually showing up for themselves. And it was beautiful.
Well, in connection, because, being in a yoga room with group energy.
Right.
So that is very tough to feel as though you've lost that group energy by being in person. And I feel that being teachers and healers, we can still hold that space to connect with people online and give them still like a heart-filled experience, because we tend to think, oh, well, if we're not having human connection, in person, then what do we have? But
Right.
many of us, we were so tired of hearing the word pivoting, pivoted, and we were able to bring that online and hold a space for everyone to open their hearts and connect.
Yeah, I found that, and I'll even say this as like a teacher, but I found Kundalini yoga did lose something online. Like it didn't, because it is energy based. So like when people are chanting like full volume, like it could really get the room rocking. Like you feel the reverberation.
Absolutely.
And there is that like connection when you're in person with pretty much anything, so that I did miss that. I also felt that for sound healing and even Reiki too. Like, as you know, it definitely does work through distance. You can
Sure.
send it through time and space, but there's nothing like an in-person session, when you get that physical touch. And for some reason, I have found it's stronger. So, and sound healing, like and as a sound healer too, sometimes when it first hit, I remember like some sound healers will think like, oh, this is just as good. And it wasn't, I mean, it can still sound great, but you really lose something. Yeah. Let's be honest, it's like, that's why I'm like, I could do, that was because you missed that like reverberation, like that gets when you went to in the actual room. So,
Right.
and that was my theory. Like it was better than nothing. So it's still going to keep going. It can still sound nice, but it's like the in-person for some stuff is better, to be honest. But I will say the one plus was for Kundalini yoga, it did keep me up with my personal practice. That was easier. Like just to put an online video, it was easier to explore more kriyas and meditations. I probably want. So I'm like, even though it wasn't the same in some regards, I did find there was some hidden benefits that I did enjoy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I think for the two of us, one thing that was very beneficial was that we spent time in India right as the pandemic was starting to happen. And we didn't even know so much because we were overseas. And so that was something that when we came home, I think helped us integrate a little bit better.
Absolutely. And it was actually over that trip, we were on calls overnight about the
All about Kundalini
stuff
yoga and
the
different
current,
things.
the current class and what was going on and stuff. So it was like a duality in that regard, because we're dealing with like a scandalous kind of thing at home, and yet you're in this beautiful chaos kind of in India.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
But just the people in India were so sweet. Everywhere we went, people wanted to take us home and feed us. Like everywhere we went, we went to a bunch of different, temples and things, and it just everybody. Also, I think at the time I wasn't blonde, but Steph was blonde. And they were all like, they thought she was a star. And so it was
That was
interesting
fun for a New
lot
York
of people
minute.
videoing her and stuff.
Yes.
But I think even, they wanted me to come for dinner too. So, but yes, just so giving and loved it there. And we were already making plans to go back when we were on the plane home. And here they were giving us these papers to sign saying if someone has COVID something on the plane, you won't, sue or something along those lines. And we were like, what's COVID? Like we really had no idea what that even was.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to find out.
So we landed March 4th.
a couple of years.
It was March 4th, 2020 that we landed. And then it was like, oh, this is going on. So
Love it.
Yeah, I took the training at a crazy time because like the scandal broke out and then like the pandemic like the next month. So it was like, and we were online to finish it for like that end of March through end of May. So those last like couple months. So it was a like crazy time. And then Yoga West, where I learned like that closed like within I think it was like that September, that fall sometime. So it was, and it was the scandal was a crazy time because it was like, here was something I love. And it was, but I appreciate you two for like, you definitely helped guide our group through that because it was hard because for me at that point, I didn't really like idolize anyone. So it was like, I didn't really look up to the late teacher that brought it over, and I didn't really like care about him that much, even when like before the scandal. So I just liked the teachings, and I liked the people there. So it didn't hit me as hard. I mean, it did. I did have to do some thinking because it's like obvious, like because he was integrated, but there is stuff with the Kriyas that I know it's not just a placebo effect, So it's like I really do think there's been, and that's why I kept going. So it was like you both handled it really well. And because I know it affected you, hit you really hard because this is something you love. So, but it was, yes, but I think that it's a shame because some people got out of it. But I think the practice itself, there's really something to it.
Absolutely. I think everyone kind of had to have a come to Jesus with themselves kind of thing, and figure out which way we were all, going to go with. How much are we still committed to this, basically, right?
Well, and two, being in India, so we were in India originally in Rishikesh to go to the International Yoga Fest. And that was something that I feel really helped because these are leaders all over the world of all different, you're a Hare Krishna, and different. So you could see how Kundalini yoga kind of can mirror some other things a little bit, but you learn from being in India how much these really are ancient teachings,
right?
And that's really where we're taking it from, and that helped us, I believe, like still be able to keep, and hold some of that love for the sacred teachings.
Yeah, that's what I think is important. Is like yoga obviously originates in India, and Kundalini yoga isn't just Yogi Bhajan. Like it originated, it was there long before. I mean, granted, he added stuff, and that's absolutely good a question. But it's a long standing practice. So, and that's why it's amazing that you got to go over there. And why I usually like studying the traditional route, because like for my Hatha yoga, I didn't get to go to India, but I got to study it in Thailand. So, and they did the traditional, like she studied in India. So I got like the next best thing. So I didn't get like the LA kind of, but Kundalini yoga, I was drawn to like Yoga West. And I am glad I did, like, cause it definitely had, I mean, obviously I'm sitting with you here today. So, I mean, there was definitely something to that, but there are other practices with Kundalini yoga too. So it's not just like, some people think it's just, this new age version, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And, when I think back of the time, my mother won't like to hear me say this, but I say, hey, I think I could live in Rishikesh for a few months out of the year, but you had mentioned the calm chaos.
Right.
So that's another element just being brought with all, the everything we were dealing with in the Kundalini world and the pandemic. That's the best way to describe it in India is like a calm chaos, and you learn to just kind of collectively welcome all of these sounds into your world. And so when you come home, I remember getting home from India and physically feeling sick anytime we would go out at first because of the heightened energy.
The energy.
But it really does teach you to take in collectively so much, into your world.
Yeah, and India was one of the places I did want to go because I just started traveling. Like I went to Peru in 2018, then Thailand 2019. So I was probably like, I'll go to India. And Brazil was on my list too, as well as the Himalayas.
Ooh, get some crystals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good spot. It's someone else from our small group. She actually gets some from Brazil. That was like her contact. They definitely have good selection. But I was like, so it cut short. And I did want to go there, but in Hatha, I got my 300 hour from online through India. So I got, that was last year, 2021. So it was like the next best thing. I'm like, I got Indian instructors, but I'm like, I don't know if and when I'll ever be able to go over there. So I'm like, but I'm like, at least, because it's something I wanted to do. So, but I can only imagine what it was like being there.
Well, Thailand is on our list.
Yes, it is.
So Chiang Mai, right? Everyone says go to Chiang Mai, but just Thailand in general.
Yeah, that's Chiang Mai. I didn't get to go there, but I heard like and I've seen pictures. That's amazing spiritual healing destination. I was on one of the islands, Koh Yao Noi, and it wasn't even like a big spiritual one, but it was it was amazing. The yoga center there was great. It was kind of nice not being in like the touristy spots and like just being away from everything. So that's yeah, but Thailand was great in general, and I would certainly go back.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, well, yeah. And so you had mentioned Brazil, and I think that Brazil, Peru, a lot on our list. But being also crystal healers, we tend to also look at these countries like, I wonder what crystals we could get if we go over to, Brazil. And that collectively as well has really become a part of our lives. So when we initially would say, oh, we want to travel around the world, sell jewelry, well, we had said the States, and now it's like, well, let's travel around the world.
Right.
So,
Even when we were in Ireland, we bought their Connemara
marble and brought it home.
Is like only found there. So
in Galway.
Yeah.
And how was it? Because you're going all over the country now. How was that these past couple of years that you've been doing that, going to shows?
It makes things unpredictable as far as a business plan, kind of. Because of the economy and then also just where people are with mask mandates and what they're comfortable with. Will they come out for this or not? Like, is this worth it to them or not? And the different cities and how long it's been since they've had a metaphysical show, those kinds of things.
A lot of different variables that go into play. Even now, our next show will be at the end of this month in Raleigh, and we'll say, okay, well, the mask mandate was here and people weren't really thrilled with that, so we should be busier this time. There's so many different variables, but one thing I would say for sure is that throughout this pandemic, the love and the want for what we say, like nature's candy, Mother Earth's candy for crystals has exponentially increased. The more people who are wanting awakenings or wanting to learn about stones. And that is one of our favorite things to do, is when someone walks up and says, I don't know anything about crystals.
And I love
Can
it.
you tell me?
We're total nerds. I'm like, okay, you're going to have to put your hand up when you want me
Pull
to
up a
stop,
chair.
because I'm ready to go. Like, let's talk. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed too, you have a Shungite necklace on there, a little piece of there.
I do.
It is. It's a sun.
Good protection.
Yeah. It is.
This like doubled as like a good luck one. I've worn it since, so now I really like it. And yeah, it's funny because I didn't believe in crystals at all. I thought it was just, I don't want to hear any of that woo-woo nonsense.
Woo-woo.
But now it's like, I'm a crystal healer too.
Yes.
So it's amazing how when you get on the healing and path of consciousness, it can really change your perspective on a lot of things.
Absolutely. It's you open your heart more, you open your mind more, and you're able to receive more. So in all of the things that Mother Nature put there for us and took billions or millions of years to create for us, we find them all just in the right time. And I believe that's the same with the Shungite as well.
And you brought some.
I did.
Yeah.
So this is, it's about 3 pounds. This is a sphere of Shungite. So the Shungite comes from Russia, from a small village called Shunga, I believe. But it is actually a carbon that has been found in outer space. So this coming and being found in Russia, it is believed that it was from a meteorite that came through Jupiter and then landed in Russia and then was there for millions of years. And we found it when we started to need it. And that is for actually need it most for the electromagnetic smog that all of the electricity creates around us, and how much that has all built up in the last even 20 years. It's multiplied that energy vibration that's out there that can then come into your personal electromagnetic field. So this actually helps to clear that. It absorbs it. It's also protective. Lots of different things.
Yeah. And I, like studies, well, the gentleman in the Nobel Peace Prize, I is
we don't
elite
have
shungite. We don't, but that's okay.
I
But
forgot.
in Russia, in general, it's only like a small pocket that has the shungite that we found. And then about 3% of that pocket is called noble or elite shungite,
Yes.
which is actually it's 98.8% carbon, and you can put it into your water. When you put it into your water, it's about 3 hours, and then you can literally see your water transform and how clear it actually becomes. It helps with like a myriad of things like any sort of immune system, sickness,
Yes, it's
anxiety,
anti-inflammatory, helps with depression, helps antioxidant. So it actually two gentlemen in '96 won Nobel Peace Prizes when they did a study on what happens when you put this in water for 3 hours or longer. And it creates something called a fullerene. And that was at the time was a whole new molecule situation idea thing. And everybody was, wow. So that year they ended up getting it. But so it hasn't actually even been that popular. So now people say shungite is going to be more expensive, worth more than gold.
No way.
Yes. So, and it's really just, you want to put like a plate of this under your modem or under your computer, or like tiles, thinner tiles. We have all of this on our website as well. But yeah, so you want to have shungite pretty much all around the house where the major electronics are, or Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, anything like that, so that it keeps you from having any of that involved in your own magnetic field. Yes.
And phone protectors, because even when we're in our car, if you think of the Bluetooth in your your phone, I guess in LA we're not to be like this, but also just like your sound system and your Bluetooth and everything, moving all of this energy that
it's just waiting for you to make a call, right? So you need some shungite situation in the car, right? Oh, I brought a couple of smaller pieces of shungite here, and I wanted to give you one. Shungite actually helps you with your gas mileage as well.
I had never heard that.
So it actually helps. There's something, and I'm not as familiar, but there's something called a negative torsion that happens as far as the way things are moving and its vibration. And shungite actually makes it turn to a positive. So by it doing that, in turn, helps your car with gas mileage, and we could all appreciate that in Los Angeles.
Yes. I'll definitely put that in. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
It's only over $5 a gallon or so.
Yeah.
And then this here is powder. It's shungite powder, and we sell small this size and then a little bit larger of the powder. We use that for migraines and any other type of pain, really. You can, and as it being powder, it will be black on your skin. So just heads up on that. But you put it on your temples or the behind your neck there, kind of behind your ears, on your shoulders, this kind of thing. But at the same time, you could hold like one of those tiles that I was speaking of against your back, or lean against it on the couch. It's going to help you with physical pain as well. So
All right.
We have had people come to us in the past as well, speaking about, I remember the one couple that bought a few different tiles because they had a newborn baby, and they had discovered that there was an electrical box right outside the baby's window. And so I feel, as you know, at that time, I don't even think there really was the idea of shungite powder as much, where you can place tiles. Say you live near some sort of cell tower or something that you feel could be harmful, you could also sprinkle this like around that area to cut the smog.
This is actually good as well to put in your plants, the shungite powder. I've read that worms and birds get sick when they're in ground that is near like the big electrical towers and that kind of situation. So anyway, at any rate, this because people tried to use this to counterbalance that, this actually was found to work as well to help keep your plants growing very well. And also small ones like these guys, you could put in a vase. They say 3 of them in a vase will help keep your flowers to stay longer as well.
Oh, it's a good tip for any gardeners that are watching or listening.
I have actually elite shungite, which we left in the bag, but it is more of a silvery color. And I have that in my hummingbird feeder, and it's the most popular one on the block. So,
all right, then, people should definitely check that one out. Is there's one more?
Oh, yes.
Mars.
yeah, because we call
Let's see what this
these are like the stones for now, I feel.
This one is
there's
Ilvate.
a reason right now that these are just coming up to us.
So this specimen also has some quartz growing on it, which is amazing. Thank you, Mother Nature. Anytime there are 2 stones growing together at the same time and one happens to be quartz, it actually amplifies the energies of the other stone that it's with. So it's an amplifier. Do you want to speak about the Ilvate?
Well, and also I was going to say that quartz in general, like, yes, it amplifies and it covers all chakras, but it generally at times too, I guess this isn't a fossil, but when you see things that are fossilized, there's that idea that if we were actually put in the ground, that over time we would turn into quartz.
If we weren't embalmed.
If we weren't embalmed. So,
have you ever seen an orthoceras?
Or an
No.
ammonite?
Oh boy! Next time we'll bring some fossils and show
That
you.
would be
Because it's literally like the body of a squid, but it looks just like a squid, except it's made out of quartz, and it's in a matrix of just stuff that's set up that turn into sedimentary rock, and there is the fossil in it. So that was a live
That's
thing.
over
And if it's just left 400 million years so if
old.
it's just left
We
alone,
crystallize.
we'll turn to crystal.
But yes, on Ilvate.
They
so.
say we're crystalline beings anyway from
Yeah.
outer space.
Yes, we could go on for hours, I'm sure, about crystals. But Ilvate is a very rare find. It comes from Inner Mongolia. It's okay. So if you've seen a black tourmaline, like we call these striations, these lines that you can see in the Ilvate or in a black tourmaline. And black tourmaline is a stone that takes a lot of our negativity away and all of the negative things like fear, doubt, guilt, shame that we've taken on over the years, and it can make you feel grounded. But Ilvate, we're actually calling the new black tourmaline because it's about 10 times black tourmaline. And it, interestingly enough, we have our own experiences with crystals. And I'm like in my home. I mean, I'm only 5'2". So I'm in my home and I'm like, man, wow, I feel so close to the ground. I don't know why I'm feeling like I'm so sunken in. And then I thought, started thinking about the chakras and was reviewing, information over Ilvate. And I'm going, oh my gosh, remember, we do have our soul star chakra and we have our earth star. So I feel that this kind of really sinks you in, and it's such a good stone for now because it is another one that helps us navigate through the now and the difference of opinions. And God, we're so divided right now.
It helps you with right. It helps you with your own communication, but it also helps you really hear other people's communication and understand that can be theirs and this can be mine, and we can calmly and be together with our different ideas.
Yeah, that's what's so strange is I have different ideas on a bunch of things with some of my friends, and it's okay. We have different ideas.
Exactly.
As long as our morals and principles and are in the right place.
Sure.
I think the rest, I never had a problem with that. It's so crazy to see what goes on out in the Matrix. People will kill you over just having a slightly difference of opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I never understood that because sometimes different opinions are good because you can change your opinion, if you hear better ones.
The red pill and the blue pill. But one thing that I was thinking, so when we were in Rishikesh, if you're familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton,
Oh yeah.
he is amazing, and he's also a teddy bear.
I love him.
We like formed this friendship with him, and we would keep running into him, and he would say the Darshans, and he is such a scientist, and he was speaking, he's got a number of things too, but he was speaking about like the red pill and the blue pill.
Yeah, he has a whole like 10-minute YouTube video that like goes right into the Matrix, basically.
Oh, really? I have to watch that. So
Yes.
I just love talking about the red pill, blue pill, even though it's like used for different things.
Right.
I'm like, even that concept is just fascinating to me. So,
So that was, that's also, I don't know, it's a really good explanation, I want to say, as we're talking about like being in this matrix.
yeah, don't think. And for like your store, and if someone wants to study with you, or do a session with you, well, what's the best way to find you? Like your contact? How do you recommend people reach you?
Come and knock on our door. No, I'm kidding. So Lighthouse Crystals with an S, lighthousecrystals.com is our website. And if you go to our website, you'll be able to see the menu. We also, by the way, list all of the crystals that we carry and their properties in alphabetical order. We're constantly always just nerding out on any more information that intuitively comes to us or that we find and adding that to our list. But in that drop-down menu is our shop. Also on Instagram, we're at Lighthouse Crystals. And if you follow us, we do at least monthly giveaways. So that's something that we like to do, for our I'll say our fan base, but for free. And we do create all of our own jewelry. We infuse Reiki into it. And so, I mean, we would love to.
Ooh. So we're going to have a code.
For the listeners.
Please share that.
We would love to give you a code.
Thank you.
That if anyone wants to peruse our site and chooses to buy something, we're grateful to be here with you, Johnny. And so we'd like to offer all of your listeners and followers a code, and you will just put it in at checkout, and it is SAGE11. We picked 11 because 11 is the number of vibration, and vibration heals. But SAGE11, and you can save 11% on all of your items.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't even receive any money for that, but I can still recommend it because it's like you definitely have good crystals. Like we met in person,
Right?
And, you have a great selection, and I know you do put a lot of time and love into them. And the Reiki infusion does make a difference.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Everything's all about energy.
Yeah.
And honestly, too, to mention, if you're in LA, that's another story for another time, but we could be quite nocturnal. And so if you need something and you need it quick, it is our pleasure to be of service to you. And
We make deliveries
overnight deliveries for you as well.
Oh,
We do.
That's good to know. And thank you for coming on
Absolutely.
today. And thank you for sharing that code.
Yes.
I could definitely recommend it. Like if you're doing in-person sessions, to try one of the crystal and Reiki ones.
Yeah.
And even studying Kundalini yoga with you too. Like your classes were amazing. So
yes,
Thank you.
it's been incredible having you too. And I'm thinking we also do house blessings and space blessings. So just in case you want to, get some energy going in your space, or you have a new place, we do those as well. And we always have our schedule online on where you can find us in person.
all right, great. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you got to listen to this or watch this interview with the Darshans. Please like, follow, and subscribe so you can be notified when the next episode comes out. I start a Patreon. Any amount you can donate is greatly appreciated. Thanks for tuning in today. Be seeing you.
Pleasure.
You've been listening to the Dystopian Renaissance. Spirituality, healing, consciousness, truth. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. And tell a friend or two. That would help also. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. at the Dystopian Renaissance. And please find the website at www.thedystopianrenaissance.com.